Hi everyone, my name is Kristen. I also go by Ms.Filmingo and welcome to today's video. Today I'm happy to share my exclusive interview with Anders Lindwall. He is the director behind the film Green and Gold, which is set to come out in theaters starting January 31st. Now, if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you have to check this film out. And what makes this film even more incredible is that it stars Craig T. Nelson. Now, before I jump into my interview with Anders, let me give you all a quick little rundown of the film. Foreclosure looms over Wisconsin dairy farmer Buck, played by Craig T. Nelson. With mounting debt and the land his family has cultivated for 4 generations at risk, Buck refuses to give up his legacy without a fight. Buck's granddaughter, played by Madison Lawlor, works alongside him but dreams of a career in music. Her aspirations are fanned by an emerging friendship with a famous musician played by Brandon Sklenar, but chasing her dreams might take her far from the farm. With time running out, Buck places a daring Super Bowl bet on his beloved Green Bay Packers, risking it all to save everything he holds dear. Now that you all know a little bit about the film, let's go cut to my interview with Anders. Yeah, congratulations on all the hard work on the film.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump into it right away.
Yep.
Why was it important for you to tell this story and get it exposed to audiences? Because I didn't realize this was inspired by true events. Can you go into a little detail about that?
Yeah. It's funny. We a lot of times when people say inspired by true events, they say, "Oh, what farmer made a bet on the Packers?" And
Yeah.
that's not the true part of it, which our PR team flagged to us. And I was like, "Oh yeah." But the true parts of it that are really inspired, what the movie is inspired from is, I think for us, so our grandfather was a dairy farmer. We grew up kind of
Oh.
around that egg community. Um, that farm, the dairy part of it was actually shut down by the time we came around, my brother and I. But,
Oh.
we had cousins in FFA. And so, and just friends, like when you grow up in any rural part of America, you have friends who are farmers. And so, we had a horse as a kid. So we kind of grew up around like the 4-H, livestock, all that kind of community. So, um, I think what we did though is we also started to recognize just like the loss of small farms in America was like a really big thing that's happening and has been happening
Right.
for a long time, and that story hadn't really been told. And so that for us was like our main driving passion for like the true events behind this is like this is
Right.
it's kind of a pretty, I don't know if I'd call it an epidemic, but it's a big deal that's happening out there, and to people who are really hardworking folks, in a world that's kind of changing, evolving, and on in a line of work that's very vocational. It's not like this is just a job for them. Like this is
That's their life.
their life. Yeah, it's their vocation, and their grandfathers did it, and it's been passed down. And so when that's taken away, it's a significant loss. And so yeah, so that was one of the big important parts of like inspiration. The other kind of uh, inspired by true events is the community that we grew up in was always so community oriented, and that we feel like is, again, I only had eyes to see it when I left, but it was like, man, this northern Wisconsin and Michigan, the community is so looking out for itself. It's always passing the hat to raise money for different things. If somebody has cancer, somebody's sick, somebody's house burns down, um, or like, we got to send the kids down to this special event. And, it's because, some of those areas don't have a lot of cash. And so you're at the
Right.
mercy of each other's support. And there was even a lot of crowdfunding that happens for small farms, which was kind of cool to see. It's like, that extended into very much into the realness of our story as well. And where people are throwing GoFundMe's up and trying to help farmers who are struggling and trying to do it the way they want to do it. And so, yeah, both the loss of small farms, the community benevolence, it follows a true mid '90s Packers season, like to the T, which is really
Yeah.
difficult to do actually when you try to integrate a NFL team into story structure. That's a tough thing. Um,
I
but
was gonna ask, that must have been the challenge then, just incorporating that into the scenes and just
it
being
took
like, how are
us
we gonna
so long.
track everything?
It took us so long. I mean, my editor, we had when, that. it added a lot of time to our edit because, we were trying to correlate the narrative emotional tone to match the seasons. And so you're like skipping through some games and then picking up here and skipping there, and the voice of the radios, covering some of those others. And so that's, because you're this the sort of what we were trying to convey there is this feeling of like everybody's kind of looking for signs sometimes. Not maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are looking for signs of like, am I doing things right? And you're always looking for kind of like outside affirmation, whether that's from, God, or it can be physical human community as well. But and you feel that as a Packers fan. It was like when the Packers are doing well, it feels like everything in life is going well. And then when they're struggling, it's really tough. Life can feel really hard. And so we
Yeah.
wanted to kind of be playful with that, but also, but man, it took a long time to get that right.
It, it looks like it took you a while. So jumping into the project, I gotta ask right away about Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah.
How did he jump on this project? Because he's absolutely wonderful in this role.
Yeah, thank you. No, he was who we wanted from the beginning, but as an independent film, it's your odds of getting a big name are so small. Like it just
Hmm.
rarely happens. And so we told our casting director that we wanted Craig T. Nelson, and they kind of laughed at us and they're like, okay, who else is on your list, And we were like, no, we kind of want Craig. And
Yeah.
he said, well, keep building your list and we'll get it to his agent and see what she says anyways. And it was the next day they called us back and said, we can't really believe this, but Craig wants to talk to you guys. And it was like one of the most surreal moments of my life, actually, because we actually found out we were pregnant with our second child on
Oh,
that same day.
wonderful.
And then I was like hopping on this call with Craig. He signed on the call with us. He's like, I'm gonna be a part of this. And I just like got off the call and I just like wept. And I'm not a
Yeah.
particularly emotional person, but it was too much because for our film it just justified it. It made it um, you it just took it to a whole different scale than we ever would have been on otherwise. So
He really fit the part for this film, and I really want to acknowledge that. So I'm happy he signed on right away. Can you also discuss the casting process and how you brought on Madison and Brandon? Brandon's career has been skyrocketing after the last year, so can you go into a little bit more detail?
she came on. We cast her second, so we got Craig first. Craig was the first one who came on, and then we needed someone who had like an inner strength, and could go kind of head to head with a guy like Craig is he's 6'5" or something, and just he's got this real grisly spirit to him. And so we needed someone who could hang with him. So we needed a young woman who had this like just a inner depth and strength to her. And so Madison was perfect. We were very careful with that decision. That took us a long time to cast because it was probably the longest part of the casting that we agonized over to make sure we were making the right decision. And um M. Night Shyamalan was a mentor of mine back in some years in Philly, and he always said casting was like 95% of his job. And so that was like haunts me, where I'm like, okay, we got it. This is the most important decisions we're making here. And then Brandon was actually pretty obvious to us. Like he
Yeah.
was obviously really good. And but yeah, at that point in his career it was still kind of like simmering. He had been in a few smaller things, and then he took ours and was driving a Buick LeSabre rental around Wisconsin. And he went right from ours then to 1923, and then it
Oh,
ended.
wow.
And yeah, we always joke he was like the best racehorse we ever could have picked to do the film for us. So but he did so well. He brought a lot of really funny moments that weren't in the script. He just was improvising them, and he's really a master at it, and it's such a pro. And so we kind of weren't surprised when he started taking off after our film. So
Yeah. So also had to ask about the music. What was the process like? How did you get all those songs put together? Because I really like the song. I couldn't get the name of it. I want to make sure if I'm saying it correctly. When You Were Mine, the one that's performed at the very end of the film where Madison is singing on the radio.
yeah, I think the song title is "Remind Me," but
Remind me.
that,
Okay.
that was yeah, so that was written by two people from Wisconsin. One is his name's S. Carey. His name's Sean Carey. He's a part of the band Bon Iver.
Oh
but
my God,
he also does his own kind of solo work. And then we got introduced to Sean from one of my dear friends, and she's a Grammy nominated guitar player and singer songwriter, and her name's Courtney Hartman. And those two, we wanted that song. It's kind of the big anthem part of the movie, and we wanted that to be as much from Wisconsin as possible. So they both live in Eau Claire, and yeah, they wrote it. And then a woman named Natalie Nichols, she sings for Jenny's voice the whole movie, and she's the wife of our composer. And so Corey Martin, our composer, helped kind of fill in some of the strings on that song and build it out. But yeah, but Courtney Hartman and then Sean Carey were the original artists behind it. So
that's wonderful. And then I thought what was also really wonderful for the film and bringing up community, you think the Farmers Project. Why was
yeah.
it important for you to think that? I know you talked about, why you wanted to tell the film, but why did you want to incorporate the Farmers Project?
Yeah, so the Thank You Farmers Project is a kind of a nonprofit that's was started by Culvers, and they they kind of that project invests into agricultural education. So a lot of youth organizations, so particularly like Future Farmers of America, and we always, with our film, we're always looking at like double bottom lines, like how can we do the most good in the project, and that's from casting to paying investors back to then like what's the implications on the community that you're filming. Like, are we being really beneficial to the community that we're filming in, and not, because it's easy as a filmmaker to take more than give, because you're at the mercy of, like, you need a lot of things. And so, for us, we always wanted to give back as much as we could to Door County. And then, yeah, with the Thank You Farmers Project, there's like a tangible QR code that's at the end of the movie, after the credits, where people can donate as well if they feel inclined to. But yeah, I mean, our hope is that the film ultimately can inspire young farmers, I think, towards seeing their work as the beautiful vocational work that it is, and hopefully for non-farmers, like learning to appreciate it in a new way, and being willing to spend a few extra bucks to help supporting farmers and that kind of thing, whether that's in the grocery store or by donating different things. So I think,
Well,
yeah.
that's really wonderful because I haven't seen a film like that.
Mm.
Do like honor the Farmers Project like that. So I thought that was really beautiful for you and everybody to acknowledge that in the film and having that mentioned at the end of the credits. But I want to know from you, what did you learn from working on this project as the director?
What did I learn?
Yeah,
Oh man, so much. Um, I think there's a couple big lessons that just are the first ones that come to mind. I think um, I learned what the power of like expectant hope, which is, when we started this project, it's like a massive project. You don't know what you're doing, but you hope for it, and you have faith that your hope and your desire can be manifested by speaking it, and that um and that it works. Like I'm so surprised by it. I mean, it's come at the cost of so much work, right? Like we don't just like hope for it and then it happens, um but I think by having something that is good and true, and by having like clear vision for it, speaking it into the world, being suited for it from like a talent perspective, like we know we're at least semi decent at our craft, that big things can happen. That's like,
yeah.
I, I've always been I've always desired to see spectacular things for whatever reason. I don't know if that's a weird thing or not, but
No, not at all.
yeah, it's like a dreamer in me, that and to know that it can actualize, and to now hopefully have confidence moving forward, like not be as scared. And the other big lesson I learned is like the by asking for help is actually, you think that's like it's like initially maybe a humiliating thing, but it's actually quite an empowering thing. Like, I felt
Yeah.
much confidence from asking for help, whether it's financial help, whether it's distribution help, whether it's brand support from Culver's or the Packers, help from farmers, help from everybody. It initially might be seen as a weakness, but but in effect, it's quite a superpower that we learned. So,
Yeah, and then to bring up the Packers, has anybody from the Packers actually seen the film?
um, yes, I think their team. I don't know. I don't remember actually, to be honest. I can't remember who's seen it and who hasn't. We offered early on to do a screening of it. Um, but I think, they obviously like they're so protective of their brand. Like to get a partnership with them, it took us pretty much 2 years.
Wow, yeah.
And so that's something that it's not just like you show it to one person and like, here we go. It took a long time of trying to explore like what could be beneficial to them. What do they need? Um, what do we need, and making sure that the partnership kind of aligns in that way. So, but yeah, having their support again, it just scales it. It makes the impression of what the project is so much larger than it would be otherwise. So
So my final question for you is, what is it like working with Fathom Entertainment?
yeah, so they previously were Fathom Events, so they did more like event based, and now they've switched to
Yeah.
Fathom Entertainment, and so they're trying to do longer releases, and um yeah, they're just been so sweet. I think for us as independent filmmakers, you're really at the mercy of somebody saying yes to you, like you just are. And yeah, they were like the first distributor that I think really grabbed on and saw what we were doing and said, yeah, we could do a theatrical run here with you guys. Um, and so yeah, their whole team is kind of rallied behind it. They're helping us host an event in Denver next week, and yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. I mean, my dream for this is like, it'd be awesome if we could keep churning out content and we know like the flow of our team. We know, how they work, and because so much of this is so fast paced. You're essentially building a business in a couple months,
Yeah.
branding it, you're getting everybody speaking the same language. You're making a product, you're putting it out, distributing it. It's chaotic once you get the green light from a distributor. So, but they've been awesome. I couldn't speak higher of them. So
That's going to conclude my interview with Anders. Be sure to check out his film Green and Gold out in theaters starting January 31st. And I also want to thank him once again for taking the time out of his busy schedule to speak with me. And I want to thank you all for checking out this video. So please comment, like, and share this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me on social media. The links are provided down below. I will see you all next time. Bye.